There we go. Hello, Jasmine.
Hi there. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fantastic knowing that I am speaking to another VOA.
Yes, that is right. I've looked through I looked through all your samples and stuff
Oh
on your
gosh,
website.
don't even, because it's
Sound
probably
good.
it paints probably not a pretty dreary picture, I'm guessing, because quite quite
No, you
novice.
sound good.
I'm quite novice to it, so thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. The podcast is a lot of fun too. I don't know if I stack up to all the other entrepreneurs and stuff you had on.
Oh
The
no.
last lady you had on from like Yahoo Finance was like, oh no, I'm not even close. But you know what? Everybody's different, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I keep it in the mix. Everybody has their own little drum to dance to. So I give the floor to whomever, and I appreciate everyone because it's like I'm learning so much, and I didn't even anticipate to even be a podcaster. It just kind of fell in my lap, so say, being a VOA. So, and I noticed,
wow.
I was looking at some of your
Wow.
your voiceovers for radio stations. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is pretty cool. I get to talk to this guy. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's really what I love to do is radio and commercials. But yeah, you got to do everything. So a little bit everything.
Yeah. So what is your passion or niche? It just seems like you have a very versatile voice. So it could be anywhere. But what is your niche that you see yourself maybe just kind of sticking to it and being more involved in? Do you know exactly?
Yeah, I would say radio imaging, like in between songs, branding a station, whether it be like an alternative station or a top 40 station. That's where I've just seen the most success. And it seems that's like what comes most naturally to me, where it's one of those things where I get a radio imaging gig and I think, oh, good. Like this is right in my wheelhouse. I'm really enjoying this.
That's awesome. Now, what type of mic you use? Because I might have to spruce mine up a bit now.
I'm using my RE20, which is it's a pretty much a mic that's pretty standard in a lot of radio stations, at least around here in the New York area. Okay. But I know there's a lot of different. It's what you call a dynamic mic. I know a lot of voiceover people use condensers. It's all just a matter of your sound. I think this type of mic is great for broadcasting, but a condenser mic might be better for like other kind of VO work.
I was actually turned on to ASMR by listening to another podcast, and they were like saying, we're giving shout outs to this woman. She does ASMR. And I'm like, what the heck is that? I know I'm old, but I'm like, I'm not that old. I like to learn different things. And my guest was like, oh my God, I could just see you doing it. I'm like, what the heck is it? And it's like, you have to have that voice, like that really whispery. And then to me, this sounds like someone who's doing sound effects. And I guess, you're probably more familiar with it, but I was like, this is a thing.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. I mean, I could never do it. I don't have that like calming of a voice, but it's just like, I want you to listen to me and take deep breaths. And it's like, whoa, like that is not my strength, but it can be really relaxing and just, you could kind of meditate to it.
Yeah. I did a voiceover for my cousin. She's a holistic therapist, and she's like, do the meditation, breathe in, hold, breathe out. And I'm like, I could do that. But I'm like, ASMR is a whole different level. But yeah, What was your question, sir?
Right. What kind of mic are you using there?
Oh God, I don't know. It's some generic brand.
Oh, just a generic one. Yeah, I see the pop filter on it.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, I know. But it's the recordings that you've heard, they were a combination of my smartphone, because I didn't have a microphone at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the other ones, which have more clarity to it, is this one. It's called I'm sorry. I don't know. It was like, okay. I could get one of those. It was like one of those starter kit packages. It got the headphones. You got the stand, the extended arm. And I was like, I'm just going for it and just do it. it was my birthday gift to me. I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to do this for so long. So better, some people bloom early and I bloomed pretty late.
I would say that's right on time.
Yeah, right on time for me. But they're like, but I've learned so much. And on top of that, I would have never thought that I'm doing video editing and I'm doing all this other crazy stuff. I love technology. So this was like an extra step for me to just like, I'm all in. Let's do this. But it would be great to be paid for it though. That's the catch.
Yeah, that is key. But you network enough and that's really the key. And you could get there. You definitely can get there.
Absolutely. So enough about me. So yeah, I was watching some of your videos as well as listening to some of your audio demos. And I'd love to know exactly what got you into the voiceovering industry. Like there's so many reasons why, but I would love to get to know exactly what started your journey in regards to the voiceovering industry.
Well, you're right. There's a lot of reason, Jasmine. And first of all, thanks so much for having me. I love Noize PolluZion, and it's a great platform that you have here for entrepreneurs and all sorts of just fascinating people from all over the place. You don't discriminate. You let everybody come on. So I appreciate it. It's an honor being on here with you. And yeah, voiceover for me was mostly just a side hustle, a cool little thing as a radio personality as I was in college, and then graduating college, realizing that industry wasn't the most stable and that a lot of radio stations were cutting back and a lot of them were deciding that they were going to syndicate a lot and not have as much of that local talent. I thought, oh no, I could be out of a job any day here. So I decided I better do something about that. And I was thinking, I was like, well, what am I good at? And I'm not good at a whole lot. So I decided, well, the one thing I can do is talk. So maybe I could be a voiceover professional. And that's what I've been able to do. And while I still work in radio and I haven't lost that job yet. So that's a wonderful thing. I do voiceovers now, actually, almost full time. And I'm loving every minute of it because of the flexibility, all those great things about working from home and working on your own schedule that everybody always talks about. So really, I got into it because of the radio industry, struggling a little bit and me seeing that as kind of a backup plan. And it's gone from just a backup plan to being really something that I love in my life that I can't really imagine myself without. And it's really one of my favorite things to do now.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome foundation that you are originally already involved in dealing with radio in college. And yeah, I think that has happened to a lot of people, especially around this time. That side gig, that side hustle during the pandemic was like, oh, just for supplemental income, just to kind of make sure that I don't get caught in between a rock and a hard place when the so-called caca hits the fan scenario.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. And so for me, how my journey started, I don't think I even expressed this on my podcast because I didn't have a voiceover as one of my guests. So I get to share this little juicy detail.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I can't wait to hear it too.
I know you're like, wait, that was it? Okay, wait, that was just false advertisement. No, anyways. But how it all started is that at a young age, I really liked to sing. And I always considered a voice as an instrument. And as I got older, I loved just different levels of pitches, especially when I was listening to people talk. It kind of brought me into the idea as I can do that. Or I love doing character voices for my kids when I was reading stories for them during story time. And I would always do the little squeaky high voice for the little chickmunk or the different types of characteristics. And my kids would just giggle and laugh. It's like, oh my God, do that one more time. I love it. So I would have that deep voice for whatever and the different characters. And I was like, you know what? I really enjoyed it. And it kind of brought back nostalgia memories as I started getting into it more and researching as to becoming a voiceover artist. And I'm like I said with the ASMR, this is actually a thing. And I'm like, and I've come across a couple of people when I say I'm a voiceover, they didn't even understand what that meant. And I'm like,
No.
do you listen to commercials? Have you ever listened to someone who's doing a narration for a movie or doing the translation for foreign films into English? That voice you hear is a voiceover artist. And you're like, I never thought that was actually, I'm like, it blows people's minds. So I was a first and second soprano singer. And my mother was like, you know what? I'm done with you doing the shower singing scenario. I'm going to have you get involved in singing for her wedding. So I was able to do a solo quartet and sing for her wedding as she walked down the aisle. And that was the first time I ever actually sung in front of an audience. And me being an introvert, I was like sweating serious bullets. Yeah. But as time went by, with different types of jobs, I've always found a way to continue to use my voice either through poetry, or I was a singing bartender in a moment. So, but then people kept asking for a business card. Do you do venues? Do you do this? Do you do that? I'm like, no. Why would I? I just never thought that was something you could do. But as time went by, and here I am in my 40s, I was like, you know what? I think I need to actually get involved in something I really enjoy doing. Enough of this humdrum sitting behind a desk and just like punch in, punch out scenario. Right. I'm done with that. I've dealt with that for 20, 30 some years of my life. I want to do something I really enjoy doing. So long story short, here I am a year later. And I think by the first week that I originally set up my online account as a voiceover artist, I had like 3 or 4 projects. And I was like, whoa, this is some big money in here.
Good start. Yeah.
Good start. Sure. Good start. So, but yeah, I want to know more. I want to absorb as much information from whoever is in this industry, and maybe bounce off some ideas and share this journey, because now I have someone who has a very like-minded industry and who enjoys what they do. And I want to pick your brains some more so the listeners get to know a little bit more who John is. So
absolutely. Yeah.
So how did you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things within being a voiceover artist?
Well, I think I did exactly what we're doing now, and I continue to do it. Networking with other voiceover artists is so important. And to the point that you brought up, the reason we call ourselves voiceover artists is because it is art, which means that there's not one way to do it. There's not a right and a wrong necessarily. I mean, there are more effective tactics, but it's not like other professions like building buildings where you better do it right or else, your ceiling's going to fall on your head. The voiceover industry is much different. There's different flavors. That's the way it's been described to me. So, I could be a strawberry and you could be, I don't know, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? You could be anything. Everybody's a different flavor. And so it's not necessarily a competition of, well, which voiceover actor can get to the top. It's more of how can we best service our clients so that they get what they want and what they need. And sometimes that means, not taking the job that they propose and referring them to somebody who you think would be better for that job. So I think that's a really important thing to remember, is just networking with other voice actors and reading about the industry, listening to podcasts about the industry, learning new skills, because it's not just voice, your voice, although that's a critical part of being a voiceover actor, obviously, but it's also your editing skills. It's also the way you create the content. If you put video together, if you put your voice with music and sound effects, those skills and that creative mind that we all have to have as voice people, that's an important skill to maintain too. So it's doing all of those things, and then of course trying to keep up with the work as well, and keeping the clients as happy as they can be, and just always give them, hopefully even more than they ask for, and just keep them coming back, and that's what keeps your business sustainable. And so far I'm proud of what I've done, but of course there's always room for improvement and room for growth, and that's why I'm happy to be talking with you too, because just another person who loves the industry, who I'm sure you have a lot of great insight to share too.
I hope so. As we continue on this conversation, I think I didn't ask you exactly when did you start getting more involved, and because I know you said in college you started with the radio, and it kind of gradually grew into a full-time business as a voiceover artist. How long have you been in the industry?
I guess you would say I've been in the industry for over 4 years now. Just as far as recording voiceovers on the side, and getting paid for it. I guess if that's, that's being in the industry, I've been in the industry for more than 4 years. And I started in college, actually, as I was getting close to graduating, I started a Fiverr gig, which is one way that I still get a lot of voiceover clients through Fiverr, which has an interesting reputation, but I think it can be a good platform in some cases. And that's how I really started as a side job. And now it's really grown into something a little bit bigger than that. And so now I'd say for the last 6 months to a year, I've been able to really, really focus a lot more attention on it and grow it even more. But like you, I'm still a little bit newer at this too. So still absorbing and always learning.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've connected with people who have been in this business for 20, 30, 40 years. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, here are these gods and goddesses that I have to look up to for inspiration. Yep. So that's a long haul for, for a lot of people who've been in this probably since they themselves were teenagers or even child stars. Because I know that some people have been in this business because it was part of their family growing up as that is. So they were pretty much hand delivered of these talents that were just enriched already, embedded in their quality and in the way of living. So for me, it's like, wow, I want a piece of that. So, but one of the things that I have been struggling with, and I think that's probably something that I just need to get around and just go directly into the storm of Fiverr, because Fiverr has been combative in every way possible without, like, how do I even do this? Like, this is like, even if this is off the record, I'm like, how the heck do I find any business through there? Because I've tried it, and there's like people lowballing me. People are saying, oh, $5 for 50,000 words audiobook. And I'm being facetious, but it's pretty close to that. And it's almost embarrassing. And it's somewhat a disrespectful way. Like, how dare you? But how do I identify myself to my customers, my worth, especially from Fiverr? And like you said, like the little scenario that's, I think that's not that many people are aware of, that there's a little behind the scenes on the Fiverr situation. I think they were merging with someone else, or they were going through some type of, I'm not sure exactly what was the articles that I read about Fiverr, but just all in all, as dealing with websites and platforms that focus on voiceovering industry, it's a hard road. But you have to like dig your heels into it and be dedicated in getting yourself out there. And it's it's dedication, like hardcore dedication, ride or die situation, sink or swim, especially with you being in New York. That's literally, if you can't make it in New York, you can't make it anywhere, like anywhere else. Yeah. Like that's the same thing with the voiceover industry. If you can't dish it out with people, all those virtual doors being slammed on you with the opportunities that you have, knowing that you are able to do that. But like I said, everybody has their niche in the types of voice levels or experience it and skills And like you said, also to have under the belt, it's beneficial. I think a requirement to have the skills of being a creator of, video editing and, finding ways to put music in the background. I've learned that through this in the last year. I've never done this in my whole life. It was a sink or swim situation, trial and error. Dig your heels into it. If that's a passion you want to do, go for it, And now, can you tell me about a voice job? Speaking of jobs, when you had the most difficulty? You probably had a couple of them, but
yeah, well, I'll tell you one that's I guess not very legitimate because I didn't end up doing it. It was kind of impossible, in fact, because you talk about Fiverr. Fiverr is a very interesting place. And I had a potential client come to me on Fiverr who was in a complete, he was just in a panic because he didn't know what to do. He needed this voiceover fast. And he messaged me and he said, I need this voiceover. It's about 10 minutes long for a YouTube video, and I need it in the next 5 minutes, please. Can you do that for me? And I said, sir, I that's kind of impossible to do a 10-minute voiceover in 5 minutes. But regardless, I didn't end up doing that one. I think the most challenging projects for me are the ones, although that is an extreme case where most people aren't that kind of absent-minded about the common sense of voiceover, that it takes time to actually do, and that we do have value as voice people. But the idea that some of the Fiverr clients, and I guess clients in general, are very demanding as far as what they want their turnaround time to be. That's something that's been the most challenging for me. So I would say that the most challenging project I've ever worked on as a voiceover artist is with a couple of clients who were very upset if they didn't get their projects delivered back to them within 8 to 10 hours, which became difficult as they were in different time zones. And sometimes I would get it at, 11 p.m. and I'd be sleeping. And then I'd get another message as I was waking up at 7 a.m. like, sir, have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? I'm like, bro, I just woke up. Like, come on. So that's been the most challenging thing for me. Obviously, voice people have different answers to that. Scripts with very difficult pronunciations are always challenging. But what I've found is that I'm willing to go above and beyond just naturally for clients who are grateful, who are understanding of how much effort it does take to voice and then also edit and produce what we do, that I'll go the extra mile for them and look up pronunciations and make sure I get it right and even do multiple takes for them. But then it's those clients who are really demanding and they want everything right here and right now. And they don't understand that we're actually people with lives and, we have this talent that's worth something. Those are the clients that are more frustrating. And those are the ones that are just hard to deal with in general. And that's definitely the hardest projects I've ever had, is working with those types of people.
Yeah, it was a very hardcore in your face realization that I wasn't Superwoman, even though I wanted to be. One of the things that I had difficulty with was a job. They wanted me to pronounce Arabic. So I had to do the research, and they actually sent over their audio pronunciation. So I had to make sure that I did the proper, enunciating of different, accents in each word. And I've done a variety of other like YouTube channels where I'd literally, like you said, do the research on how to pronunciate different types of accents. Specifically, I had one YouTube, they wanted me to pronounce something in Russian, German, French, Italian, and then try to make it sound beautiful, which you could probably look it up on my website. That was one of the ones that I did with Putin, or the one with the top 10 millionaires or whichever like that. That was So I had to pronunciate, and I didn't even know how to say Jeff Bezos' name. I kept saying Bezos. like kisses, like Bezos.
Yeah.
But he's like, I just had to keep oh my God, I have to completely delete that and just start all over again. But yeah, it takes time. It's research, it's dedication. You want quality, quantity, you have to look at quality over quantity. Quality is like it's literally your reputation is on the line.
Yeah.
So dedication is on the line. Your determination, your rapport is on the line. So when someone says that they want a 10-minute, and I've heard instances like that, and I've worked with other clients who were in India, which are actually very, very awesome people, but the time zone is like, I give them a window of 24 because within that 8, there's some 8-hour in there that's doable for me to complete what you want me to do.
Then there's another where you're sleeping, right?
Yes,
so then, you can't always have, and that's up to them to plan ahead, right? But no, you bring up a good point, because I just focused on the negative there, but I've met some people from different time zones who are just wonderful people, and they're so much fun to work with.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I mean, they just there's some people who just don't understand how much it goes into being a voice person. So like, what is the biggest surprise you've had in the last few months, and why? You probably are with some let me see if I can put this in a correct way. Do you have any projects coming up? Do you have anything that you'd like to share with the rest of the listeners? Like, we want to listen to you. We want to see you in action. Like, where are the places that we can find this information? Or what types of projects are you have that are coming up that I would love to share?
Well, I'm doing this really cool commercial campaign for Chevrolet, which it's not, unfortunately, it's not going to air here locally. It's actually going to air in Brazil, but they're doing a campaign that I'm really happy to be a part of, because it's actually a campaign to raise awareness for the hearing impaired, since that community is growing and it's really big down there in Brazil. And Chevrolet is doing some cool stuff in that community. So I've been the voice of the campaign of their commercials down there. So, nice. Different continent and everything, but still a really cool opportunity that I've loved working with a large company. It's kind of difficult. It's different than your everyday, content creators that we do voiceovers for. There's a lot of like red tape to cut through, and like, well, let me ask this person who's the manager of this person. It's just kind of crazy, but it's still a lot of fun. And the most important thing is that it's something that's a good cause. I just finished an audiobook as well. It was a book. I'm a Christian, and it was a book about how it's important to draw closer to God. And that to me was more fulfilling than any other project that I've really done, just because it aligned with my values. And anybody can read words on a page, right? But when you actually care about what you're reading, it shows. It really does. You can tell because anybody can read words in their own, mundane way. But when you actually put your heart and your soul into it, it makes a difference. And I've gotten some good feedback on both that audiobook, and although it hasn't been rolled out yet, this current ad campaign for the hearing impaired in Brazil that Chevrolet is doing, that I'm really excited about. So those are the two main things, but always looking for other things too. Of course I do just like you said, I do a lot of those YouTube video voiceovers for people too. So I think we've probably done a lot of the same type of work, and it's all fun in its own way. You learn a lot too from a lot of these projects. It's kind of just like reading for pleasure, but you're reading it out loud and you're getting paid for it. So so that is a nice thing about voiceover, and I'm just really excited. Now, what about you? Are there any projects that you're working on right now that are super exciting?
Yes, actually. I believe in January we're going to start off, but there's a gentleman here. He does videography. He also he created this, I think it's kind of like dealing with the background history of where I reside. I live in Greenville, Texas, and he is a videographer. He brings out his drone. He does all this beautiful, above head clips, and creates all these beautiful I think he's also a photographer as well because he deals with wedding venues and all of that. So he wants me to be the voiceover for his videos. And I can't remember how we met up, but it was just I connected him through DM on Facebook. And I said, I love your take on the city. And it makes me even more prouder to be here living in Texas. Because ironically, Greenville, Texas was the city that I pointed out on the map just randomly. I was like, I'm getting out of Wisconsin. I'm done.
Oh, wow.
And I just moved 1,000 miles to Texas, and Greenville was the spot that I picked. Huh. So being here for, I think, about 6.5 years or so, and his perspective on in bringing out the I know it's kind of a shady, but yet a bittersweet history of Texas in general, but Greenville especially. We had cotton fields out here, and it was kind of like the heart of transportations through railroad for cotton picking. So there's a little dark history in regards to it, but the way he brings it out, it's so inspiring that even though we come from that, we have grown to diverse and culture community. And so I wanted to be part of that. So that's the whole. That's
exciting. That's really cool.
Yeah. And I think there's another one too. I am one of the voices of a WWE video game. So yeah. So you probably heard that one. That's different.
So it shows you the diversification of your voice, where you could do something very serious and then something very fun and I guess lighthearted, right? So it's good to have both of those.
Exactly. But anyways, I'm super excited about that. I cannot wait to meet this gentleman. But thank you for asking. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to know what other actors are doing as well, because it's just so cool how many different projects are possible, because you didn't even think, like you just mentioned ASMR earlier, like somebody has to do that, and somebody actually, a voice person actually does that. And it's just amazing how, when people think of voiceover, they probably think, oh, you're the guy who does the commercials on TV or whatever. But that's only such a small, minute part of our whole industry that's just so wide ranging. We're just everywhere. It's crazy. Yes.
Yeah, we're everywhere but nowhere, because it seems like we're in the back, behind that green curtain. We're like in the Wizard of Oz scenario, like we're the voice behind. Yep. And nobody knows what we look like.
You're right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, good point.
So, like, what is the best piece of advice you've received? Like, I think maybe even a mentor or a good friend or someone just who was an inspiration, like I had mentioned, the gods and goddesses of the industry. But what best piece of advice have you received?
Well, my mentor and good friend, his name is Mark Erickson, and he's the owner of his business, which he calls Ranger Sound. He once told me, and he's really taught me how to do this, to stay in touch with everyone. And that's not only from a business perspective, but it's rewarding as an individual too. To make friends inside and outside the industry, and just keep connected with people. Mm-hmm. And that's great advice, and pretty simple advice, but we often don't do it. We often, do a project for somebody, and then 6 months will go by and they've totally forgotten about us. We may have even forgotten about them, but just following up with people and having excuses to reach out, if you can add value to them somehow, even though they're not paying you at that moment, if you can send them an article that they might want to read, that kind of thing, is staying in touch with people. That's the best form of advice that I've ever received. And one of the ways to do that is, obviously through email. I just try to email people. I just email my clients, hey, how's it going? Not like begging for work or anything, but just trying to develop a relationship with them and continue that relationship, because that's important. It benefits you professionally, because oftentimes you are the person they think of next when it's time to do a voice project, and they'll probably reach back out to you. It increases your retention rate, so to speak, as a voiceover artist. But at the same time, even if they never have another voice project ever again in their lives, you've made a connection personally. And I truly believe, especially nowadays, that talking with people is just good for us. It just is. And that's a really important thing. And it's just a great piece of advice that I've implemented. And I don't know if I've really gotten any work from it, but I've noticed that I've been able to gather more information for my own, knowledge, getting a more diverse array of perspectives, and just stay in touch with as many people as you possibly can. That was the best thing I ever started doing.
Yes, that's very imperative. I mean, to keep the rapport with the current client, a previous client, a prospective client, or just somebody who you can pass along to refer as a reference. Because I've learned a long time, never burn bridges.
Right.
You never know when you have to cross back over that bridge. And it's going to be something it doesn't always have to be like, a prideful thing. But it's almost like you have to appreciate that you don't get to where you go without having people there to support you, or to just say, hey, that's the direction you need to go, or that's not the direction you need to go. I mean, I've learned that, and I, you know what, you just kind of brought this up to the idea that I need to actually reach out to some of my clients. Shame on me. So I'm glad you actually shared this, because
we all do it.
So true.
We all do it. And I've found that I will always forget to reach out to my clients no matter what, unless I actually have my spreadsheet and I go through once a week and I say, I just try to organize it, even though I'm a terribly disorganized person. I organize my clients and I say, I haven't contacted them in 2 months. I guess I'm going to send an email and just, ask them how's it going, or send them an article that I thought was interesting. So yeah, we all do it. There's no shame, but yeah, I definitely recommend reaching back out to them and just checking in. Yeah,
that's great insight, information. Very, very resourceful. And you helped me. If you're not going to help anyone else, thank you so much for.
Well, good.
You're my little cricket of conscience here. So, but yeah, I know that one of the things that you also are involved as well. I mean, outside of this, your voiceovering business, you study media management. So I wanted to also kind of hit that side if you had a moment. I know we're past our 30 minutes, but like I said, there's so much information that we, and I love to share this with the listeners. And can you tell me, because I know I was watching your Facebook voiceovering, that 2-minute and 29-second Facebook video on YouTube in regards to the different types of social medias, specifically like dealing with people of disabilities, like 1.1% are only being acknowledged on the Facebook after doing some type of analysis and database research on the social media websites. But I guess you could probably even touch more on that for me if you like to hit on that subject.
I think I'm also a graduate student at Newhouse at Syracuse University. And that's just something that studying media management is so good for my voiceover business, because it helps me to, be able to run the business professionally. But it's also just such a powerful, the curriculum that I'm learning is just so powerful in many ways, because like that, I did a project, where I actually put a video together and did all the legwork behind it. It was even though it was only a 2.5-minute final product, it was a lot of research and a lot of work. And it just turns out that in advertising, some people are so underrepresented, and it's so sad to see that, all of our Instagram perfect looking models that are, all filtered and all makeup and everything, they're the ones who are getting the advertisements. Whereas the average Joe, we don't get that kind of attention in advertisements. So I was doing a project on that, and that's what we're learning in my graduate program right now, is just how to increase the genuineness of advertising and I guess the voiceover and media production, I guess I would say in general, and how important it is to have representation from all sorts of different groups of people, and just for the sake of all of our mental health, because that takes a toll on us when we see people that don't look like us. They look, perfect, so to speak, but they're really not. There's a lot of fake things going on. So the importance of representation, and now a really big trend in our society is that people want genuine people. People don't want that perfectly dressed, perfect makeup and everything. People just want to see people who resemble themselves. And I think more than ever, we need that right now. And that's what I've been studying, and how to exactly add that genuineness in all the content that I create. And for us voiceover, maybe it's being a little less polished, which seems kind of counterintuitive, but maybe that, just a little less polished on the way we talk and the sentences that we form, that can create a more relatable image to our listeners, our viewers. And I think that's beneficial.
We are wanting to see people at their raw, messy hair, blemishes, the curvatures, the contour of normal human bodies, and the struggles that go along as being a human. We have emotions, we have actual real life situations and scenarios. How do we deal with that? How do we handle that? Who are the true friends, and who are those who are just there for the season? So yeah, a lot of stuff is a lot of the things that really are more beneficial than the materialistic things of life, that the different trends that were going on at the time. So yeah, for sure. I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, that's a really powerful thing that I think is relevant to all of our industries, no matter what we're in. It's important to be genuine.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, did you have anything else you'd like to share with the listeners? If I have missed anything, I guess it may be in closing or some afterthought.
Well, I would just say, to wrap up, I would just say that it's really important, whether you're a voice actor or whatever you are, to just follow that passion. And that doesn't always mean, quit your job, and because you got to be smart. You can't be stupid. You can't. I know people who've dropped everything and just become full-time voice actors right away, and they've made it work. But in my case, that wasn't what I did, and I don't think that's the best way to go. I think since it's such a slow start when you're building up your client base, and you're probably not making a lot of money in that first couple of years or so that you're doing voiceover, I think it's best to still have that other job. But then again, that doesn't mean you should back down on pursuing that goal at all. You should go right in for it. You should do what you need to do to support yourself and your family and everything, but just go for it, because you will be rewarded. It's tempting to give up early on, because it's like, oh my gosh, these people on Fiverr are driving me crazy again, but you will, and it multiplies once you find those clients that you like. And this goes for anything, not just voiceover. It does multiply, because they keep coming back to you, and then they refer you to other people, and it just grows. It just grows. It really does. So just focus on the quality over the quantity, as you made that great point of just, your reputation's always on the line every time you open that mic. So really just make sure you're producing the highest quality, so people go back to you, and then it's just a waiting game. Eventually people will, they will come back to you, and just follow up with them and everything. And pursue your passion. I mean, I don't mean to sound like I'm trying to give some motivational speech, but it's just so true, because for me, I'm happier than I ever have been right now. And a lot of that is just due to the fact that I just decided to go for it. And I'm still not where I want to be yet, but I'm, definitely doing what I love. And that's the important thing. Just go for it.
Exactly. Yes. Wonderful, wonderful closing. Now, last but not least, of course, we would like to have the listeners know exactly where they can find you. So what places you could share of, like, social media or your website?
Yeah, well, if you don't mind, I'll quickly share jonathangoehring.com, which is my website, and that's where you can find samples and everything. And that's my email is also up there. My business email is john@jonathangoehring.com. And my social media, you could check it out on Twitter at John Goehring VO, or on Facebook as well, John Goehring VO. So that's where I post some projects that I've been doing, and would love to get in touch with you. You know, if you're a voice actor and you just want to bounce ideas off, that's great. If you have a need for a voice or whatever, and you want a young male sounding voice, that's great as well. Or I can hopefully refer to you to somebody, you know, who's good for your project as well. But regardless, yeah, if you'd like to get in touch, I'm here for you. And as you could probably tell by listening to this podcast, I talk a lot. So
yes. I said that out loud. I'm so sorry. Yes. No, not at all.
No, I'm kidding. I'm only kidding. But
me too. Yeah.
The point is, I like to talk, and I love to listen to other perspectives and just be friends with people. I'm not, you know, really trying to sell things. I know I'm supposed to kind of do that too, but you know, yeah, I really would love to get in touch with anybody. Yeah,
for sure. So no, I prefer you to talk, because that's for me less to talk and
there you go.
So yeah, it's a win-win situation, of course.
Absolutely. So. Yep, you got that right.
Well, it's been an honor, John. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much again for just, you know, hitting me up on this, because I would have never thought that I would be the person that you would go to. Enjoy this moment of our journeys crossing each other, and to be, you know, just inspirational for all things to come. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jasmine. And let me know if you need anything in your past too. We can always bounce ideas off, you know, because 2 experiences are better than 1.
Yes, exactly. Well, have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks so much. This was a lot of fun. Let's stay in touch too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm on Twitter too, so I'm gonna look for you. I think I probably even already have you on there. So yeah, for sure.
Awesome. I'll look for you as well. Great.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. You have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye.